There is a quiet crisis unfolding across the American housing market right now, and most buyers cannot name what they are looking at. But somewhere deep in their gut, they feel it. They walk into a brand new construction home, they see the fresh paint, the granite countertops, the stainless steel appliances, and something just feels wrong. Something feels hollow. Something feels like it was designed to be sold and not to be lived in. And they are absolutely right. Because what is being built today in American subdivisions is not housing in the engineering sense of the word. It is a financial product disguised as a home. And I have spent over 2 decades as a forensic structural engineer tearing apart these buildings after they fail, after the lawsuits get filed, after the families are displaced. And what I find inside the walls of modern American construction should terrify every single person watching this video, because the degradation in build quality is not accidental. It is systematic, it is profit-driven, and it is happening at a scale this country has never seen before. Let me start with the bones, because that is where I start every forensic investigation: the structural framing. And when you compare a home built in the 1950s to what is being framed today, you are looking at 2 completely different philosophies of construction. Old-growth lumber, the kind used in mid-century American homes, came from trees that were 100 to 200 years old, dense-grained, dimensionally stable, and naturally resistant to moisture and warping. Today's dimensional lumber is harvested from fast-growth pine plantations, trees that are only 15 to 25 years old. The cellular structure is dramatically weaker, the growth rings are wide and loose, and by the time it reaches a job site, it is already twisting and bowing in ways that compromise the entire frame. A modern 2x4 is actually 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches, meaning you have already lost 25% of your cross-sectional material before a single nail is driven, and builders are running these members at maximum allowable spans under the International Residential Code, meaning there is zero engineering buffer in the structure. Every joist, every rafter, every stud is performing at its absolute code minimum limit, and code minimum is not a quality standard. It is the legal floor below which a building gets condemned. Now, I need you to understand what Oriented Strand Board is, because it is everywhere in modern construction. It replaced solid plywood on roofs, walls, and floors starting in the 1980s, and the industry sold it as superior because it passed laboratory load tests. But what the laboratory never simulated was 30 years of real-world humidity cycling, roof leaks, and condensation. And what I pull out of walls during forensic investigations tells a completely different story, because OSB delaminates. It swells at the edges when wet. It loses structural integrity in ways that plywood does not. And once it starts to fail, it fails silently behind your drywall, where you cannot see it until the floor feels spongy or the wall starts to bulge. The average new construction home uses OSB on the roof deck, the wall sheathing, and the subfloor panels, meaning your entire structural skin is a moisture-sensitive engineered composite, and in climates with freeze-thaw cycles or high humidity, which includes most of the continental United States, that is an enormous long-term liability hiding inside every wall cavity. The foundation is where I see the most expensive failures in modern residential construction. The overwhelming majority of new homes use a slab-on-grade foundation, and in the right conditions, that is an acceptable system. But what I see repeatedly is slab thickness value engineered down to 4 inches, vapor barriers improperly lapped or punctured during the pour, and soil preparation rushed because the builder is on a timeline that prioritizes closing dates over curing times. Concrete needs 28 days to reach its design compressive strength of 3,000 pounds per square inch, and when a builder frames walls on a slab that is only 7 days old and starts loading it with lumber and roofing materials, microcracking begins before the first family ever moves in. Post-tension slab failures are among the most expensive repairs in residential real estate. I have documented costs ranging from $40,000 for localized retensioning up to $180,000 for full foundation remediation. And the warning signs are diagonal cracking at door corners, doors that will not latch, floors that slope more than 1 inch over 10 feet, and tile grout lines cracking in stair-step patterns, all showing up in homes that are only 5 to 8 years old. The mechanical systems inside modern homes represent engineered obsolescence. The HVAC equipment, plumbing manifolds, and electrical panels are designed with service lifespans shorter than the mortgage you signed to buy the house. Builders frequently oversize HVAC equipment because an oversized unit reaches thermostat set point faster and impresses buyers during the walkthrough. But 5 years later, that unit is short-cycling, failing to dehumidify the living space, and developing microbial growth in the air handler that creates respiratory problems the homeowner cannot explain. PEX plumbing replaced copper in most new construction after 2000, and while it handles freezing better, the brass fittings used in many systems contain dezincification-susceptible alloys that corrode from the inside out in areas with aggressive water chemistry, and insurance claims from PEX fitting failures in Florida, Texas, and California alone represent hundreds of millions of dollars in annual water damage. Fiberglass batt insulation is being used to meet energy code minimums, but batts perform at their rated R value only when installed perfectly without compression or gaps, and I have never in my career performed a thermal imaging inspection on a new production home and found perfect batt installation. There are always thermal bypasses that your HVAC system is compensating for every single day. What I want you to understand is that the rejection of modern American houses is not aesthetic nostalgia. It is structural intuition. Buyers are sensing the hollowness because the hollowness is real and measurable. It shows up in deflection readings, blower door test results, thermal imaging surveys, and moisture meter readings at the base of OSB sheathing, and the solution is not to stop buying homes, it is to stop buying blind, to hire a forensic-level inspector before you sign anything, to pull the permit history and verify every inspection was physically attended by a code official and not rubber-stamped, because the buyer who does their homework survives financially, and the buyer who trusts the granite countertops is the buyer I will meet 5 years from now, standing in front of a failing foundation wondering where their equity went.